super fit.
Wait, are we gonna do it like last
CGI
time where we're
fit.
just kind of
Yeah.
talking?
Oh, we're live.
And then we
Yeah,
take some
no,
stuff. He's
I
like,
just-
super
we're on.
fat.
CGI.
Hey, welcome to Guy Ideas. We
CGI fit and
the mics are on, so yeah. Anyways, there's the boys. There's the boys. Hey, boys.
Hello.
so
Whoa, it's the new year.
Yeah, it's 2022. That's pretty nuts.
Yeah,
we lost one.
Unlike
We
Joe
lost one of
Biden.
our-
Yeah,
What?
David
Our
didn't.
fallen brother
David didn't make it.
I was gonna say, unlike Joe Biden, we actually know what year it is. So
Ooh, yeah, that's true.
I
Canceled.
actually, for the first time in my life, wrote the right date
nice.
on the first
Oh,
try.
I always
First
hesitate.
time
I always go
in your life.
22. Oh,
I went
what is
22
it?
right off the bat, and I was like, wow.
You did it.
And everything
It's
else
because
I've
you're.
done today has been
It's because
really
all
bad.
the fasting and shit you're doing.
Yeah, but everything
tell
else
us
is-
about what you're doing. What are you starting
Oh.
New Year out with?
Oh, with a lot of fasting.
Like what kind of fast?
So I'm starting a hello, everybody. I'm Steven. Welcome back to the show.
What's your addiction?
So my addiction. So I, for my first 21 days, am doing a no meat for the first 7 days. A no caffeine, no sugar, no YouTube or social media stuff for 21 days.
Whoa. Wait,
So just for the first 7, I'm doing no
Why meat?
meat.
I don't understand the meat part.
Because I wanted to do. I was gonna do no food at all for 7 days, but that seems a little tough.
It's a little
You'll
extreme.
die.
So I did no meat. I took all of my protein out, so I'm doing no protein powder, no solid meats for 7 days, and then I'll start eating that again. But everything else, I'm doing no caffeine, except for today. I failed because my mom bought me a coffee, and I thought it was a chai tea.
Dang it, Mom.
Yeah, I thought it was a
Chai
chai
tea has
tea.
caffeine,
Well,
yes.
like I'm doing like. Sorry, there's like little things I can do.
If it's less than 100 milligrams, it's not caffeine.
Like I can do tea,
Okay.
but I can't do coffee. I guess
Okay.
coffee and energy drinks and soda.
that
is
makes
what-
sense because that's
so-
where like the real caffeine is.
So I was gonna do a chai tea, and I thought I said, "Hey, chai tea," and my mom got me a coffee, and I was like halfway through, and I'm like, "This tastes so bad."
Bro, I have chai. I could have made you a chai.
This
Oh,
is
you coulda.
the-
Yeah, I have
the
chai.
worst
No, this is
chai
good.
tea
Water.
I've
I need
ever had
water.
in my
Yeah, I was
life.
like, "This is the worst chai tea I've ever had."
I'm thinking about for Lent doing something similar where you have you heard of the carnivore diet?
Just
Yes, I have the Jordan Peterson diet.
So Joe Rogan got in this conversation with Jordan Peterson, and Jordan starts talking about his daughter who has like arthritis, all this, basically allergic to everything, autoimmune system issues and stuff like that. And they basically went on this all like carnivore. Basically anything that comes from an animal is fair game. But like no plant, no veggie, no tea, no coffee, and like the big like controversial thing is that it's so new, but then there's been a lot of anecdotal reports about how positive it's been. So like none of the fast food, none of the sugars, no coffee, alcohol, nothing. I was thinking I'm thinking about doing that for Lent this year.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Starting like Ash Wednesday on March 2nd this year.
Yeah.
You should
I
try
think
that.
There's-
that's a good one for a short period of time. I don't think
Well,
that is a sustainable.
No, and that's the thing. Like I would probably just start off. I'm debating whether or not I want to do like full out the 40 days of Lent, or if I do like a 6 on 1 off, where
You can always take Sundays off on Lent because if you prescribe a fast to yourself, you can abrogate the fast. And typically people do that on Sundays.
well, so like I mean I've known guys over the years that have like done the full on I'm not eating food fast, and they might take glucose pills, and then like towards the end they're like in the hospital. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And plus Jamie's having another kid
You don't want to go to the hospital?
in March. Right. Well,
Yeah, and you've got to gain the baby weight.
I got to gain the baby weight. Right?
That's a trap because then when she has the baby and loses it all, you're
You
still
don't.
fat. That's what happens.
It's our
So that's I'm not doing what Steven's doing, but I'm doing dried January, although I might extend that to a full year. I'm kind of deciding, honestly, like I might take a full year off and just see, because I've gained a lot of weight, and a lot of that's carbs though. Like I haven't eaten more than 35 grams of carbs in a single day for like 6 days. Plus I stopped drinking alcohol after the first, and I've lost like 7 pounds.
Damn.
So yeah, it's crazy. I fast. I've been intermittent fasting too. So I've been not eating till like 11ish. Today I ate a little earlier but I've only been eating like 2 meals a day, grazing a little bit in between on like nuts and stuff, but a lot of like leaf grazing on nuts.
Grazing on the nuts. His wife's not home, so he's been grazing on them nuts.
Anyways, yeah, it's worked. I probably won't do that forever. Like it's kind of almost keto-ish, and keto's I don't think sustainable long term.
Keto is Oh no,
it's
carb. You're
low
doing no
carb.
carbs.
Yeah, no
that's right.
carbs. Yeah,
that's
it's pretty
keto.
much keto.
Again, it's like one of those for a little while thing,
Right.
Which is
To lose a shit ton of weight, and then you kind of. The thing is, though, I think
you find. So the thing is, what to do. The best thing to do, not to go on a tangent, since we're talking about this, the best thing to do is it's a elimination diet. You figure out what your body can handle, and then you add and take away things. Yeah. And that's what I did that for a little while, and so I only eat certain stuff.
Yeah, that's good. I think the bigger thing too for a lot of people is in America, at least, we eat so many carbohydrates, like complex carbs, that are just shitty for you. They just turn right to sugar. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like crackers and candy and sugars and fast food and bread and in moderation, that stuff is great, but it just turns to sugar, and then it spikes your insulin, and then you have like a huge crash. And insulin just tells your body that it's not done eating, so you want to eat more. You end up eating more than you should, and then it tells your body to store fat, and so you just eat way more than you should, and then you store a bunch of fat. So
I think another thing we struggle with too is portion control. Like in America, especially if you're like doing fast food, you're like, well, it says if I want more fries, it's only like 10 more cents. Like, okay,
right,
and you end up with like a pound of fries. You're like, what the heck? That's not healthy for anybody.
I think this actually is a good segue into first topic because
I was gonna say
it is.
sugar's a drug. Sugar and caffeine.
sugar literally gives your brain the same response that cocaine does. It activates all the same reward centers, the same levels of
Those
dopamine.
white powders, man, they'll get you.
Yeah.
You have to do it like the powdered sugar version.
I've had sugar
Instead of,
withdrawals.
like, the
Real
it's
bad.
just so the
He's
granulated.
just a guy with a Pez dispenser, and then he takes the hammer and he crushes up the little
it, it's
Pez, and then he
card.
takes the card and makes little lines.
I don't know. My freaking nephew might be into that.
We used to do
That's
that.
funny.
Powdered sugar and snort it.
Yeah, you remember the
Or
Fun
not
Dip?
powdered sugar.
Did you ever try it with
the-
Fun Dip? I did.
Yeah,
It
Fun
sucks.
Dip.
Pixie
But I didn't do
sticks.
Pixie Sticks.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
also the Pixie Sticks you'd...
I
man, that was
made a dumb
terrible.
decision and I snorted root beer through a straw one time. That hurt.
Yeah.
Dude, that hurts, man.
That's
Pixie
the only
sticks are
experience
pretty
with
rough.
drugs
I had
I
a
had.
pixie
No.
stick like a couple years ago, and it was a horrible decision.
Oh yeah.
No, I still like it.
Just what? Too sweet or too sour? Or...
Yeah, too sweet. I mean, it's literally pure sugar, right?
That's how I know
It's
I have
just
a
like-
sugar problem.
So it was like my
'Cause I
nephew.
want 'em all
He was
the
like
time.
turning
Like, ooh.
3 or 4, and I was like, "Oh, a pixie stick! Like I haven't had one of these in years.
Mm-hmm.
You have that?" And just like I was like, "Oh!" It was like a brain freeze, but with sugar. It was nuts.
Yeah, you get that huge spike and it's crazy.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So drugs. Huh?
it is a drug.
It is.
It is.
And caffeine too.
What do you guys think about drugs?
Drugs bad, okay.
This was Daniel? Was this your topic idea? I think
It was your
right?
topic
So
idea,
you should.
so-
I just threw it out there like a few weeks ago, and we're like, oh yeah.
Well, that means you got to start it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so I used to had a very chronic addiction to gummy bear or to Flintstone gummy bear or gummy vitamins. I'm just
Oh yeah, the real shit.
the real stuff.
Real stuff.
No, I
Oh, you call that an addiction? I
Right.
used to suck dick for coke.
Oh my god.
If anyone knows that movie,
It's always like here, and then Steven just takes it there.
it's
I'm
Bob
just
Saget.
happy
Bob
I'm
Saget,
not the
everybody.
one. I'm usually the one that takes it to the next level. But then I got Steven. It's like, okay, I can pass the baton to him.
And then you guys just keep raising the bar and keep raising the bar.
There is no bar.
and then we
I
get
just let
canceled,
the group
and my house
collectively
gets
raise the
repossessed. I don't have a
bar.
house.
No, I think so. Like I was listening to Russell Brand, and he was sharing some study that they found that, not narcotics, psychedelics, like psychedelic drugs in proper use and in moderation could be as effective for treating mental illness than your typical big pharma prescription drug that you might get prescribed to. And it was just kind of interesting. I know Joe Rogan talks a lot about like DMT, which is another like psychedelic that he's really into, and they talk about.
It used to be like every other word out of his mouth. It's like
D-
when you're
Well,
on
that and
DMT.
in chimpanzees or something, right?
It's like Jordan Peterson
Chimps?
and lobsters. Like
Yeah.
when you look at the authority structures of lobsters, you understand that there's something inherent in the psyche of consciousness and the meta narrative of the universe that demands your allegiance to authority.
Right. Wow. No, it just
impression.
it was just interesting because like I know growing up, drugs was like a big taboo in my family. And I did, for me at least, I never had any kind of economic incentive, or I guess the reasons why I didn't do drugs growing up was because there was that economic incentive to where if I don't pass a piss test, I'm not getting hired for a job. You know what I mean? And then having, your family.
You gotta do oil changes.
For a month.
Steven, you know what I'm talking about, right? Blue Mountain State. Has anyone seen
yeah,
Blue
yeah,
Mountain
yeah,
State?
yeah.
And he's like, they're like, we could just order fake pee. He goes, no, we're doing oil changes. And
Oh, is that where you take like canola oil with you into the bathroom, or?
no, it's way worse than that. You
I guess I'm ignorant, so
You
yeah.
put a catheter in and completely empty your bladder, and then fill it with someone
somebody
else's
else.
clean urine.
Oh, God. People do that?
It was
I
a
don't know,
TV
it was on a
show.
TV
I'm
show,
hoping
probably.
you can't.
So, okay.
But you never know. You can do a lot of weird things.
I feel
these
like you're
days.
getting an
What if you
infection.
drink instead of going
Why
back
would
through a
no?
Why would you drink
I don't
it?
know. I'm just
So
if you ingest it, you would eventually.
I
pee
was
it
it was before I became a stockbroker at Schwab, where I went to this clinic, did the piss test, and I was in, you're sitting there holding your pee for like 20 minutes, and you're just like, come on, damn it, I gotta pee. And so I finally get into like the back area where they take you to the toilet and you do your thing. Well, there was like these two guys.
I did that today.
There was like these two guys in line ahead of me, and like I hear like the doctor like, okay, like knocking on the door, hey, I'm coming in 3, 2, 1, and then he starts yelling. I was like, what do you do? All you could hear this whole conversation happen, and I'm just kind of sitting there. It's like, oh, dude, they try to cheat.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy made him
Fake
and his
penises.
buddy. The doctor made him the one guy and his buddy in the hallway, pee in the hallway into the cup so they could watch him. It was.
Wow.
I thought it was hilarious.
I swear this is a real story. There was a guy who they would buy prosthetic penises to pee.
That was also from Blue Mountain State, though.
No, but this was real. I swear. And the reason
What do you
he
do with
got,
the real one?
Well, no, it's just you have like a prosthetic
second penis.
a second penis, and and it has pee in it. So like if they came in and watched, it would look like you were peeing. The problem was, I swear this is a real story. He had the wrong ethnicity's penis. And then, I'm pretty sure he was white.
Are you sure?
And
I just left it in the tanning bed too long, Doc.
I swear this is a real story.
Oh,
And they
man.
came in and
I
were
was
like-
trying to go for a 10. I
We were-
microwave it too long.
Yeah, we were talking about drugs, and now we're just talking about dicks.
Thanks, Steven.
No, that was drug test.
No, but like anyway. So like my biggest thing was I don't know. Like
Was
I
it
guess
a penis?
shut up. My question though is, I don't know. It's weird because you have all these studies about, because I was talking to a friend of mine that's a nurse, and I was kind of, I don't know, argue with her, but I told her, it's like, well, there's this study saying that psychedelics could be, in proper usage could be very beneficial. And she kind of goes, I can understand that argument because, I mean, when you take a prescription drug, regardless of what it is, you're changing the chemical balances in the brain to get it to do a certain thing to your body.
Yeah.
Like release certain like endorphins and like
Right.
all the chemicals and stuff like that. So I just thought it was interesting, but it kind of ties it back to like, not to get like crazy political with like the war on drugs or anything, but it just kind of makes you think like from a cultural stance and even from like, I guess from like just natural substances are found in nature. Like should drugs outside of like, should drugs within the confines of proper use and guidance and knowledge and proper use, like should drugs, whether psychedelic or not, be demonized? I just kind of thought that was an interesting conversation.
So I guess what you're saying is more like
Outside, not
legalized versus non-legal.
No,
like,
no, like so using drugs to treat an ailment. So like if you have like
not
trauma
oh,
or
so you're
PTSD,
just saying just a treat. You're not saying drugs in general.
no. So like so
medicinal.
I'll drink
He
alcohol.
doesn't want cocaine in his coffee shops.
No, I'm just saying like I'll drink alcohol, but I try not to use it for escapism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's I think that's the big thing, because people obviously like do drugs, they consume a lot of like whatever gives you dopamine to get you
Shoot,
that
we do
high.
that
Was
with Facebook. I mean,
Where was it cocaine that was legalized in Washington or Oregon?
they
Or what drug was
decriminalized
it?
a lot of
They-
drugs.
Well, they
There's a
even
lot-
So-
they even decriminalized like possessing a lot of stuff here in Colorado.
Yeah, I see the logic. I don't know if I agree with it or not, but I see the logic in decriminalization of drugs, because a lot of times if you're an addict, you're not fully culpable for your decisions, right? Like you're not in your right mind. So I understand like trying to decriminalize it so as to not completely ruin their life and then try to offer them treatment instead. But they chose like a crazy amount where it was like, I'm a drug dealer
But
and it's decriminalized.
I feel
now.
like people don't offer the treatment part.
Well, that's
I feel
true.
like that's where
Yeah, that's true.
we just went, here you go. The treatment was,
cocaine and
you
then
can do
just
it in
no
the
treatment.
streets and we'll hire someone to pick up the needles.
Right.
I had a friend I
Give
used to
you
work
clean
with.
needles.
Wait, what?
What? Oh, all the cities that give drug addicts like the clean needles.
Yeah.
They just wipe them
It's
down.
like, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Well, so there was this guy I worked with years ago, and we were having this conversation, and he was in high school, and there was, I know this is totally anecdotal, but he was in high school, and he and a bunch of kids in his class, in this one class, were like having this full-on debate about drugs, and then the teacher walks in and goes, okay, how many of you guys could get me like alcohol right now if I asked for it? Maybe like one or two hands went up, and then he asked, okay, how many of you guys can get me weed if I ask for it? And everybody hands went up. And so there's kind of like that weird regulatory argument to where it's like, okay, if it's, if there's like a law, there's a tax, there's whatever, it could be like a little bit more controlled, so it's not
Takes
so
the fun out of it when it's not illegal.
well, it hits the cartels and it hits the drug dealers, but even then it depends on each state, because another thing, I think John Stossel covered this, like he looked at different states that legalize marijuana and just talked about how if they don't regulate it the right way, like if the regulation for weed, for example, is so crazy expensive and just hard, a lot of red tape, it doesn't make any sense it just almost doesn't make any sense to get into the business, because
Right.
you literally have to be an insider. Colorado, I think, is like one of the few states that did it decently, but like California,
Steven's like, no.
well, I mean, this is just
Comparatively.
Comparatively, sure.
yeah, comparatively. But then even here in Colorado, they're like, if you get caught with like a certain amount of meth, like the cop can't, like a police officer can't like arrest you for it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's fine. I think like, because someone who's addicted to drugs, that's a whole different thing than like someone who's selling them and creating them illegally. I think I don't know exactly how this relates to the whole discussion, because like drugs is very vague. Like you say drugs, and like it's very vague, because
I'm saying outside of like prescription and like
okay, but really, like, what's the difference? It's just social perception in a lot of ways, right? Like the pharmaceutical companies have made the opioid addiction a thing. Like it's purely because of the drugs being pushed by pharmaceutical companies that are legal and that are legally prescribed by doctors. But those are just as potentially harmful, addicting, and damaging as something like cocaine or meth. Some of them are just as synthetic, So there's that's like a weird thing I think about the whole discussion is, I think there is a objective and tangible sense in which you could maybe delineate which drugs are okay in moderation and which ones you should just probably not do. But I don't know that like our society has drawn that line very well, if that makes sense.
So to add to that, so it's like I'm kind of like torn on this, because like I'm like freedom, but at the same time I'm like,
you don't want to destroy lives.
well, it's not even.
Does
that,
freedom
it's just,
mean you get to kill
does
yourself
freedom
with drugs?
mean-
Like,
Where's those
that's-
death pods from Sweden?
yeah, oh fuck.
Switzerland.
Switzerland, sorry.
Don't put the Swedes
so I'm
in
like-
with the Swiss. Okay?
No, yeah, come on.
Come on.
Sorry, didn't mean to be racist.
I don't know. I have
The
a tough
Swedes
time.
have blonde chicks. The Swiss have offshore bank accounts and guns with no ammo.
That's a
and death
good.
pods.
That's a good way to remember. Go ahead. Sorry.
incest, right?
No.
The bonds. The bonds.
Where did that come from?
Sweden is just Alabama.
I thought
Europe, Alabama.
one of them is. I thought they.
I don't remember.
They
I don't know.
bred
I
all
heard-
the
I heard,
pretty
like-
people together.
I heard.
I've heard
I don't
that
know
too.
where it was.
I feel like I heard that from you.
No, I heard it from somebody else.
Yeah, I know. That's
'Cause it
what I'm saying.
wasn't
Is I feel like I heard that from
Okay.
you. But you might have heard it from
It
someone
might
else.
have been me.
I heard like Denmark was
Yeah, maybe that's
like
who it
Europe's
was.
Canada.
Nice.
Like they have a lot of maple syrup or what?
Everybody's really nice.
Yeah, what?
I think they're just really nice.
Oh,
Until
Unless
they play
French
hockey.
Unless you play
Canadians.
hockey, then they kick your ass.
except for them French Canadians.
Fucking Quebec, bud.
I don't know. It's like it's a tough one because it's like I feel like what we do, like I feel like the more we make something illegal, the more people want to do it, and the more
Unfortunately, true, yeah.
unfortunately, and then
Right.
the more you legalize it. Sadly, I still think the more people would want to do it because it's legal. It
People
opens the
just
door
like
to
to do
the
bad things.
people like to do bad things. So I'm torn in that sense. Like, I don't know, because I feel like everyone should make their own choices on what they do. But then, I don't know. I feel like we then, I mean, we could move this into another topic, but we won't. But like, the more you normalize something, the worse to me it actually is.
Normalizing usually means making something taboo acceptable, but it doesn't change the objective morality of it.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's where it's like, okay, it's still bad, but we've just made it normal and we've made it okay for everybody, and now we have an argument of morals.
So what?
Yeah.
So then it kind of goes back to what I was kind of thinking about this earlier. It's like, okay,
So for medical, I actually think if it's medical reasons, I kind of am on the.
if
like,
there's
yes.
research that supports medical uses,
yeah,
and if
Sure, why not?
psychedelics are helping,
totally.
If
if
it's a
psychedelics
way-
are helping veterans get over PTSD from war or like trauma victims and stuff like that, or if it helps calm guys with like anxiety issues and all kinds of stuff like that, I just, what sucks is that we don't know. So kind of
right. Well, that's the problem. It's like, okay, we can say it works now, but what happens in 10 years? Did it actually work, or did it actually make things worse?
it's
Yeah.
right.
this is like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Because so on one hand, we're brushing up against one component of this discussion, which is the morality of drug use. I think is down to the intent of it, paired with the inherent effects of the drug. Like, I think meth is one where it doesn't matter. There's probably no medicinal use for meth because it just kills people.
Right.
It just is. It's like Windex baked in with
The-
salt. It just kills people. There's no medicinal
Early
quality
on,
to it.
when I think it was like when people first were, I don't want to say, is it inventing? Maybe they invented meth. I don't know. I think
Oh, yeah, it was invented by
specifically like
doctors.
the German army during World War II,
And the Japanese army too.
and the Japs. They were Japanese. I can't say that. Sorry. They were like using it. Their soldiers were like ingesting meth,
Yeah,
so they
the
would just like
kamikazes were
be
too.
insane for like in a however long it lasted. So I think that was pretty.
They used to just give people amphetamines because they were low energy. Like, hey doc, I'm feeling kind of low energy. Oh, here's
What
an
was,
amphetamine.
what was
son.
the story with LSD? Because I know that was made in a lab somewhere.
I don't know how it was made, but I know that the CIA did a bunch of secret tests, just like
Oh,
forcing people to take LSD in like huge doses. Super cool stuff. That
And then the
government
60s,
Trust
did.
and that's how we got the 60s.
Yeah,
Well, so like I don't know.
that's how Stranger
It's weird
Things is
because-
like
so
probably real.
My thing is a little bit like what you're saying, Drew, is like, well, and it's like what you're saying combined with what Daniel's saying is like, I grew up and it was very taboo. It was basically like, drugs are bad, don't do them. If you do them once, even if it's just you smoke weed one time, your life is ruined for forever. There's no game past it. But now it's like, which is fine. Like, okay, I generally think that, yes, it's bad. But also I kind of think like it's really arbitrary, like which drugs they decide are bad and which ones aren't. Because like what you're saying is, with the oxy and all that kind of stuff is just prescribed by a doctor. And so for some reason we're like, oh yeah, sure, I'll take this. And we've got a
Right.
huge problem in our country with overprescribed oxy.
What if it was okay? Hear me out. So we have an opioid. Oh, why can I not talk today? Opioid.
Opioid?
Opioid.
I can't
Opioid.
say it. We have a problem there
Yes.
caused by the government or the pharmaceutical, which is the government.
Probably caused by,
which is the government.
caused by big pharma. Like,
This portion of the show is sponsored by Pfizer.
Pfizer.
like tag,
Yeah,
tag
but think
team,
about
right?
Okay, so think about this. So we have that, and then we had the '60s, which was LSD and weed and all that. And all of a sudden, we had a huge mind shift in our landscape of. So it's like every time they introduce either man-made drugs or
Manufactured.
natural drugs, weed. There's a mental shift in people, and so like,
Oh yeah, they're definitely changing our brains.
yeah. So like even like whether it's weed or, and this is where I guess I have to. This is my like big problem is like I feel like no matter what, if it alters it, even if it's natural, it's actually not beneficial for the person. Now, medical, obviously different,
Right,
Because
there's
you're already in a
greater-
situation.
There's a greater issue that you're
issue.
treating, so that takes precedence.
But what we've done is like we're just feeding everybody everything, and that's not to go against people that I'm not going against anybody. I'm just like I feel like it's all just a ploy to alter everyone's perception of life, and I feel like that's what I feel like. But it's kind of weird because in the '60s, weed was really pushed by, I don't know. I feel like it was hippies, but like I feel like it started somewhere else. Like I feel like it was one of those things. Like, hey, here's this, here's opioids, here's, and it's always something. But it's always something that, and I'm gonna go conspiracy here, but I think the government drugging everybody, no matter what it is, sugar, anything, it's to get their attention on that instead of everything else that's going around.
So to take
when there's a lot of money in some of these things,
Well,
that's probably the bigger thing.
Well, I was going to say, like, the reason why I think you understand when Jesus said that the love of money is the root of all evil. What is the economic incentive? And to kind of go on another side of the conspiracy route is, with all the technology and the knowledge and the advancements in medical technology that we have, we still haven't figured out cancer.
They can't cure it.
This makes me nuts. Do you know what they know about cancer, but they don't study enough? Sugar is what feeds cancer cells. Cancer cells feed on insulin and sugar, and they grow 10 times faster as a result of it than normal cells. If you don't eat sugar when you have cancer, you're starving cancer cells. Why aren't we talking about that?
Right.
Well, that's because you can't cure it.
You don't make as much money if you fix it.
You don't make any money if you have
that's
a cure.
that's exactly my point. It's like, how do you know that we don't know what
Well, that's
cure
This is my
cancer
thing. This is like, so my whole low carb thing lately, we have a huge sugar and fast food industry, and that I'm not saying there's some big guy at the top orchestrating all this, but they have like a economically symbiotic relationship with pharmaculture because they make a bunch of fat fucks, and then pharmaceutical companies sell a bunch of drugs to those fat fucks,
Right.
and they don't actually fix their problem. They don't tell them to change their diets, and the fact that you can get a medical
actually,
degree,
we're doing the opposite, and we're telling you you're healthy.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, with the whole
Yeah.
fat shaming thing. Well, and then here's
we need to bring back a little
every
bit of fat
nutritionist doesn't have to take any medical classes, and every medical doctor goes to school for 8 years, and they only have to take one nutrition class in their gen ed. Are you kidding me? You can cure type 2 diabetes with diet.
Yep.
Not type 1, sorry, David. But type 2 diabetes you can completely reverse with diet.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
insane.
Well, most of them are caused by diet.
Did you guys see that
Most of them are.
a public service announcement that El Salvador put out about the COVID thing? This is
No, what
great.
did they say?
They said that, like, hey,
they were like promoting like
good health and exercise. They're like,
The best way to fight against COVID was good health exercise.
it's like, well, yeah, like that's what, of course.
Right.
But over here, we're just like, just go get vaccinated again and get your third booster or whatever.
But don't lose
But
weight.
don't lose
That's
weight.
what happens when you get
You're
orange
fine,
pills.
You're fine.
So that's what I want to talk about. Okay, so when we all shut down, you know what they made sure stayed open?
all the fast food
gyms.
joints.
No.
McDonald's.
No.
McDonald's.
Weed stores and liquor stores.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding.
But gyms, they closed.
Well, we're
No, but that's what I'm saying is
Right.
they kept open two
Horrible
awful,
things.
horrible things, and then what rose was domestic violence rose and alcoholism rose
depression
and depression.
Oh, domestic violence.
But
yeah.
we
I drank so
literally-
much more during COVID.
But yeah,
it's
so
bad.
we closed. I don't know how we're going on this tangent, but we closed the gyms. We can't go for walks. Well, we could.
Well, I did.
We didn't live in crazy world.
I tried COVID dating.
But COVID dating.
Yeah.
COVID dating was
We went for
terrible.
walks.
Yeah.
Hikes.
No, I'm not going to talk about that.
Probably for the best.
So, but like you shut down all the healthy things, but you keep open the worst things for you.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the problems, and this is related to drugs, I guess, in an important way, but not a direct way. We have, I think it's a part of our postmodern culture, and we have an overly, I don't want to say scientific, but a scientism type of culture where like the science thing, right? Pseudoscientific culture in that and this is partly the problem of psychology in a lot of ways, I think, but it's also medicine. We've made it to where every issue should be fixed with a pill, as if that's the problem, like just purely a chemical imbalance.
It's not about not about being a well-rounded person or being a disciplined person or doing or developing habits that are healthy both mentally, emotionally, physically, socially, economically. It's about being able to do whatever you want.
Right.
And with no repercussions. I think
and then if you're experiencing symptomatic issues, like what classical psychotherapy would tell you is you need some sort of equilibrium to neutralize them. But what someone like Jordan Peterson would say, or someone like Viktor Frankl would say, as a psychologist, is maybe there's a good damn reason that you're anxious. Like, okay, you lived through a Holocaust. Yeah, you should be depressed. Like that is the proper response to that thing. The world is shut down from a pandemic. Yeah. You probably should be a little stressed out. That's your body telling you, holy shit, Whereas we've made it like, oh, you're a little depressed? Well, here, take this drug and you will feel nothing.
Here's
and that's how you should feel.
Yeah.
One of the things that was brought up was, and I think Joe Rogan talked about this, was that I don't know if even Jordan Peterson goes this deep into drugs, but I think he said that like there's you have like your conscious self and you have your subconscious self, and then there's like your ego, and how I think there was like this idea that these psychedelic drugs help suppress that ego. I don't know, and this is kind of my thought. It's okay. So like weed or like mushrooms or whatever natural substance. Not talking about meth because that's obviously like manufactured horrible. That's going to kill you.
Yeah,
right.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't necessarily think our bodies were not designed to inhale smoke. So if I ever did weed or like
did weed.
What?
I don't know.
If I ever
consumed marijuana,
if I did anything that had THC in it, I would.
Want a cigarette?
No, well, I'm just saying, if I ever did anything with anything related to weed, I wouldn't smoke it because like inhaling smoke is not a natural part.
Edibles will knock you on your ass, son.
That's what
I've had a very bad experience with edibles.
Like it's like a 12-hour ride.
And
I thought I was gonna die. What about brownie? What about the special brownies?
I didn't do brownies. That's edibles, but I did an edible once, and I'm not once, but like one time, and I did it for sleep. Best sleep I ever had.
Oh yeah.
Tried to mimic that, and I thought I was gonna die, and I was on a toilet for 12 hours. Literally thought I was dying.
Wow.
I've had a similar experience.
I did 200 grams of edible.
Oh God, I got screwed way worse than you. I only did 25, and I was high for like 10 hours, and I was miserable.
Oh, I was miserable. 200 grams, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah, and I thought I was gonna die.
Here's the thing.
But I don't think you can.
Weed is interesting because like, talk about like the changing scientism of like how we study things and suck at that until we realize how wrong we were, and then learn a little bit more, and then still are probably wrong.
That's why they call it the practice of medicine.
Yeah, Well, the practice of medicine in like the 40s and 50s said cigarettes were good for you,
right?
And weed was a killer. And it turns out to be like the opposite. Like you could, if you never smoked a cigarette but smoked weed every day of your life, you'd probably be okay. You'd have the risk of lung cancer still because of the smoke, but all the other shit that nicotine and then all the other stuff
manufactured industrialization of tobacco. I would argue.
Well, and tobacco in general, they pumped it full of so much stuff. It's way different than the stuff they were smoking, like the forefathers. You know, like when Thomas Jefferson was smoking his pipe on the front porch, it was not the same thing in a Marlboro cigarette.
And now you know why. If I ever smoke, it's a cigar because it's 50 times the tobacco of a cigarette, but still, all the cigar tobacco is so much more natural and
it's just tobacco.
It's just tobacco. It's not like you're lacing it with all these other chemicals that make it addictive.
Marlboro cigarettes, I don't know if they still do. They used to have plutonium-10 in them. That's a chemical compound used to manufacture nuclear weapons.
Nice.
Oh, did you know?
You're literally nuking your lungs.
A lot of golfers that smoke cigars end up with throat cancer. And do you know why? Because
I'm waiting for the sex joke.
no, this is real.
Okay.
So what happens is they smoke cigars, and then when they get to the green, they put it on the green, and they lay it on the green, and they putt. Well, what do they do to keep the greens green?
All the chemicals.
All these chemicals, and then they pick it up, put it back in their mouth. And
Oh, and they're getting chemicals
they're
from, like,
getting
the green
chemicals
ones.
from the greens.
Dang.
What a
That's why I
weird
don't golf.
thing.
Huh? That's why you don't golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
You
because
and me
it's just
both.
like
There was
boring
an actual
and lame.
correlation between.
That's crazy.
Who
People
the fuck
who
figured
smoke-
that out? Who was like, "Huh? Why are all
Well, they
these
were
golfers
trying to
like,
figure out.
wait a
I'm
second.
assuming most people were like, "Well, it's just tobacco. It wasn't cigarettes."
What happened to Arnold
they all
Palmer and
golfed.
Tiger Woods and all these
So
guys?
I don't know.
They're
is
all
it
old white
true-
people in Florida.
with clips.
I'm gonna throw this question out there because you were talking about well, I can't remember
marijuana and cigarettes?"
the cigarette part. Yeah. Anyway, is it true that like now the marijuana has like higher levels of THC?
Oh
in it?
yeah.
So
The,
is it like
the
a
pot
lot
your parents were smoking in the 60s is like
Nowhere.
Right.
kindergarten
So isn't-
compared to the
yeah,
crap you
it's a
can
lot
buy
worse.
now.
And then
for
they're
you now?
lacing
Yes.
it with fentanyl, from what I hear.
Yeah,
what?
that too.
They're
Well, the legal
yeah, there's
weed
a
they're not,
fentanyl
but if,
problem.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
there's-
fentanyl they're putting on everything that's illegal.
So like, yeah, the marijuana today is completely different than what they were doing in the 60s.
Yeah, like the weed scientist people
Yeah,
have
you thought the
refined
sex
the
was
THC content to such a degree that it's insane. Like you used to
Which is bad.
anecdotally, I've heard that like in the 60s you would smoke like a full joint by yourself and get a little bit high.
Mm-hmm.
Now you smoke like a quarter of a joint and you're like blasting
Glassed.
off to Jupiter's moons.
Yeah, that can't
Yeah.
be good.
No,
I think
there-
it's weird that
I
like
went
today,
to the weed shop in Ridgeway. They had a little Tootsie Roll that had like 80 milligrams of THC. That's enough to like blow you to like another universe.
Yeah. I think it's weird in today's culture here is that
Toilet for
like
12 hours.
if you smoked a cigarette in public, like people would probably like what the crap is this guy doing?
Unless you
Smoking a
vape,
cigarette?
then it's fine.
Yeah, unless you vape,
Yeah.
or unless, and then if you
Although
have a
there's
joint,
some
like
good
it's fine.
flavors. It sucks.
Like it's weird. There's like this weird dichotomy here
Right.
going on. I'm like, they should all be
What's-
grouped together in the same thing. They're all probably bad for you.
So there's this guy that I listen to, and I won't mention the name, but he was talking about cigars, and he was like, he gets really upset because it's like there's FDA studies now. They could be totally skewed for obvious reasons, but like you're not supposed to inhale cigars. You just bring this, you bring the smoke into your mouth. You
gently wisps against your tongue.
you savor the flavor. You blow it out. Cigarettes,
sorry.
weed, like my
You spit?
no, I don't chew. Anyway, so like my mother-in-law was a nurse, and
Spits or swallows?
what the hell, dude? Did I miss something?
Yeah,
No, that's why I said you spit instead of swallow.
Yeah, because you said you don't.
You blow
Yeah,
blow it
you
out.
blow it out. You don't. You don't inhale. So
He's being dumb. Keep going.
Okay, whatever.
it was a sucking dick joke, okay?
And that joke did suck dick. So.
Nice.
Someone out there appreciates it. The
we
one
have
person.
one person watching.
Yeah,
Steven.
David.
It's David.
David.
Hi,
He
David.
Hopefully he
Dave.
appreciates it.
Hi, Dave.
So my mother-in-law was a nurse in Delta, and she would have all the time these guys come in, and their lungs are just completely trashed because they smoked so much marijuana. And so to the point I'm trying to make is that it's really sad how there is that social scrutiny over something like cigars where it's just these rich white guys, fat cats with the top hat and the monocles and the evil corporation dudes and stuff. But then you come to find out like the number of deaths caused by cigars, I would imagine, I have to find the research on this, but it's like way substantially
It's probably so
less
low.
than the stuff that they put in cigarettes, or even like the
vapes.
The vapes. Oh my god, the vapes are horrible. And then even marijuana.
It's just like letting jelly coat your lungs when you vape.
No,
gross.
it's all those chemicals that crystallize in your lungs, in your little air pockets in there, and they just crystallize, and so you get these
But
like
damn, if it doesn't taste good, dude. There's a Fruity Loops flavor. It's amazing.
well, even vaping.
There's a grape cola one that actually feels like it's carbonated, which is really
Well,
concerning.
that's pretty weird.
yes.
I vaped for like 6 months, and then one morning I woke up and I'm like, oh, I want to hit the vape, and I was like, I woke up and wanted to hit the vape, and I threw it away.
Nice.
Cold turkey.
It's a bad
Yep.
sign when you're
Yeah.
like,
Well, you were getting like 14-year-old kids that had been vaping for like a handful of years, but they vaped so much that they literally could not breathe.
like smoker's mouth. Like
Well,
cough
but
mouth.
but like vaping was supposed to be like a cigarette alternative because it didn't release tar into the atmosphere, but then it also was supposed to be something to help wean you off of.
And then they made it
nicotine.
mango flavored.
And then they made it mango
I
flavored.
like how
and
somehow
then
they
vaping.
made it environmental problem.
Oh yeah, because all
Instead
the
of
cigarette
actually
butts.
like,
Well, it's all selling the narrative.
well, I'm
That's
just
all
like,
it is.
instead of focusing on the real issue, like, oh, well,
health
this will actually help the environment.
Never mind.
I'll
the
be
fact
honest,
that's
though.
gonna kill you.
Yeah, that'll kill you, but
I really enjoyed the flavors. It was just that was the best part.
Yeah,
Hookah?
but vaping got so big and
Yeah,
became
hookah.
such a problem that there was like these guys making it off the streets, and like the stuff that was being put in that off the
Oh,
like,
yeah,
the black
yeah.
market stuff was so bad compared to what
the
you would get at
basement
store.
mixes.
The basement
Like
mixes.
smoke shops would do that. They would get the base chemicals that you put in it, and they would just have Tommy mix it in the basement, and he's probably high off his ass. And it's disgusting.
Gross.
so I got asthma from living under smokers.
Mm.
Nice.
So
Secondhand smoke asthma.
yeah,
Wow.
which I didn't know was a thing.
I didn't
but
know that was a
it's
thing
real.
either. Wow. that
Especially when
sucks.
you live, and they were like chain smokers.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, man.
yeah, well, no,
Yeah.
I don't care. It's
horrible.
just, it's like
You should sue them.
I should.
I think in terms of, I think we kind of mentioned this earlier, like the intent portion of it. And I think we've discussed that there's inherent danger in all drugs, right? Like
I think there's
even
inherent
alcohol.
danger with everything.
Right? But like drugs, a little more so than like taking a walk down the road.
Depends on where you're walking.
Okay, but like,
Yeah, have you ever?
doesn't matter
I don't
where
think
you're
it's
smoking.
danger,
It's still bad
like,
for you.
Man, danger's cool. Like, we should get more into dangerous stuff. in
I think there's
culture.
good danger though. Like I think there's good risks and there's like healthy risks.
Yeah, you're
Whereas like
You're
drugs
right, you're
are
right.
are usually
For the sake of
almost
escapism.
always right, and the
That's-
intent there.
yeah.
But like even like with smoking, there's probably not like the best way to avoid the dangers of smoking is like complete avoidance,
Maybe,
right?
Maybe not
I
smoke.
think everything
Alcohol
that's
too,
made-
honestly.
Honestly, everything that's made these days is for escapism, and
Well, that's certainly true.
Sure.
and we're going into a culture that's all we want.
To escape.
The metaverse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who
well, I think,
seriously is going to sit there with an Oculus on their face all
dude,
day
you
long?
will be
Everybody.
surprised.
Is that what?
I don't
is that
think-
how that works.
I don't
I didn't even
think-
know how that worked.
I don't
That's how it works.
I don't think
And they have
even
little
our
things.
generation, or at least a good number of our generation, would want to do that.
It's like
You know
I'm
we're
not-
old.
that is my
Right?
line,
You know
bro.
we're old.
What was that one movie? It's not for us.
People
it's
that
for
were born in the
it's
year
for the younger
2000 or
people.
22.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
what's
We're all-
9/11?
It's for Drew's generation.
That scares. That scares.
What's
the-
9/11? It's 20.
Wow.
I
What
think
was that one movie? Wally. I feel like we're getting
Yeah.
closer and closer
Oh,
to
bro,
Wally.
it's
Well,
real.
yeah,
The
we're
fat dudes in
like-
the
Well,
little
Jeff
cart.
Bezos
Come
already wants to
on.
send everyone into space to work so that
It's
he
horrible.
can own the whole planet.
I thought it was a horrible movie, and it's horrible that our culture is actually inching
That's
closer
actually
and
what.
closer
Well,
to it.
we've turned the definition of healthy into whatever you want it to be. They want us to be fat.
Like, I'm
Absolutely.
not fat. I'm big boned.
If healthy is whatever we define it by, then the BMI weighting system should be completely abolished.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
But insurance companies understand that that's full of crap.
when
Well,
insurance
exactly
companies are
the
the only
point.
thing binding you to reality, you're
Again,
pretty screwed.
Exactly.
We talked about this the last time. Is who benefits if we die early?
Insurance.
Insurance. So
Yeah.
it's the healthy people that cost more money to be on insurance.
Yeah, that's totally true. I think
So
As a
I feel like
larger-
everybody's in this like cahoots.
and I don't even know if they're there intentionally. It's just kind of
I don't
we've
know, at
we've
this point it's
we've kind of baked ourselves into a philosophy where we're sophists. If you're familiar with Plato railing against the sophistry of the day, the sophists in the Greek world that Plato lived in didn't believe in truth. They only believed in narratives that create power, and you should use rhetoric that gives you power over and against your opponent. They didn't believe anything was real or true. They believed it was just useful or not useful, which is exactly where we're at. And
Sounds
so,
like today, yeah.
you know, if you make money off of selling people processed food and sugar, and it just so happens that the pharmaceutical companies make money off of selling people drugs that only make them feel better but don't actually fix that problem, now you're in a symbiotic relationship. You're not going to get in each other's way. You're going to help each other. And I think that is now seeping into even the common person with like you can't fat shame me, even though you're objectively unhealthy. They're subjectively living their best life. And the problem is we don't have a shared narrative of what a human being ought to be. Like, what is a thriving human person and how do we become that? We don't have a culturally shared idea of that anymore.
Everybody has their hands in each other's pants. That's all I heard.
Well, it's more that like
It's more or less true.
See, I took it there. I took it there for you.
Dude, no, I'm trying to.
You can't top that.
Steven's really
I can
confused
tell
now.
I'm just-
Do it.
Well, it's just. I just no, come
You
back
can't
to
do
me,
it
come
on the
back to me.
spot.
Come back to me.
to
Come
him.
back to me.
Okay.
Wait,
I'm just saying.
Wait.
Oh.
If your hands in my pants, I will come.
oh my.
No,
Okay.
no, no. Is that what you
No.
meant? Jerking
No.
off?
No.
Jerking each
No.
other off?
No, but it's the symbiotic relationship.
That's a
that he mentioned.
symbiotic relationship.
Whatever. I'm gonna fade the black. I think
Circle jerk.
Circle jerk.
I think a couple things. We live in a culture that is prescription based. Like we will medicate everything before we will solve the underlying issues. But I don't think so. I just read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
I have that copy. I've been trying. To
It is
read it.
amazing.
Yeah.
He in his time diagnosed already what was happening, which is now just so rampant it's insane that we don't have a chemical imbalance problem. We have a meaning problem in our society. People don't have adequate measures of meaning in their life. They don't have a sense of purpose or a sense of shared goals or things to work towards.
Interesting, but I agree but disagree.
Okay.
Because I think it is the reason we have it's a circle. So we have
It becomes a vicious cycle for sure.
But we've gotten to the point where we've drugged everybody to the point where they have no purpose, but they take drugs because they think they have no purpose. But it's actually the fact that we've drugged them first. We think.
I think it started with the no purpose first.
You think it's the purpose, but I
this goes back to
disagree.
like the 1700s.
I know, but we've had purpose up until the 40,
Mid
until 45.
1800s. Nope, way earlier.
You think so?
I think in terms of the academic view of the world, it became entirely secular in like the mid 1800s.
No,
And
I
think
get
ever
that.
since then,
Not that
it's
part.
just been
I get
filtering down.
that part, and it's been. I
People's
get what you're
general
saying.
sense of purpose in
But
life.
I think in general, people after
Like
World
when it
War
hit the general
II,
population.
after World War II, that's when I think purpose changed. And what happened was
Are you talking the global world or like
No,
just
I'm talking
America?
us.
Okay,
US.
that's probably fair.
I'm talking
like
us.
after World War II. I think
after
that's
World
about
War II,
fair
what
to say.
happened is you had the ones that still wanted to go fight and still had purpose, but then you had the drug-induced 60s who they say they never spit on them when they came back, but they did. You had these people that had purpose, and then all of a sudden they had no purpose. They were demonized. Then they had to get on their drugs to get better.
It starts a little sooner than that though, because you had that same cycle begin in the 1920s. You had
Yeah,
the
but
roaring
I
20s,
get-
and it was the same.
I get that.
alcohol-induced.
It was
bootlegging
alcohol,
culture.
but they made alcohol illegal, right?
Right.
That was the 20s.
Prohibition.
right.
Prohibition. So what I'm saying is, but then all of a sudden we have a pill and a drug that we are manufacturing and putting it out into the people.
Well,
so
in the
when
20s,
I
they
say-
had cocaine tooth
well,
drops.
okay, so
So that's why I'm saying it goes back earlier than that. There was a reprieve from this
that's okay,
insanity
so-
after World War II in the 40s
but I guess
and
that
50s.
goes to my point is we think it's a purpose problem, but what if it was actually a manufactured problem that they did on purpose and it's just slowly caught up?
I think
but
they
we
definitely
think it's
work
a-
The road to ruin
We
is
think
paved
it's a
with good
purpose.
intentions. The road to ruin is paved
Yeah.
with good intentions.
Yeah, it's like we think that it's because we've lost purpose, but what if it's because they've been drugging us slowly this whole time? And that's where the cycle. We just think it's because all of a sudden purpose went away, because I don't think the purpose went away. I think what happened is because even in that time people worked harder. They had to work to live. People like my family grew up on a farm. They had kids to work on the farm. And then all of a sudden, technology, things changed. But everyone still had purpose, but there was slowly adding things in to alter your mindset. And then I honestly think it's manufactured. The Great Depression's a great example. I don't think that's manufactured. Purpose got stolen from them because people made bad choices and ruined everybody else.
I think on lines with that, and I remember my great grandmother telling me, who lived through the Depression, she said that she remembered the Depression, and she goes, "Yeah, it was Scripture and it was the Bible that brought people out of that tough time."
There's like a resurgence of that
Well,
stuff.
I feel like in society we're given this manufactured, kind of like what you're talking about, this manufactured sense of existence, like whether that's like the American dream or paying off your mortgage or have as much money as humanly possible, try to get as much gains on your on your 401k, whatever. But then like when all that goes to kaput and when all hell breaks loose and all of a sudden you're not in control of your purpose, then you're just left holding these bags of just meaningless and nothingness, and then you're questioning everything, where you're almost forced into either self-medicating through things that will try to alleviate that pain, or you manage to work your way towards something that gives you more fulfillment and more life. Or I guess it like it's the weird cycle. It's like easy times make soft men, hard times make tough men.
Make easy times make
Easy
soft
times,
men.
yeah. So
Right.
Well, and that's the
well,
problem.
I'm just saying
So
like
that's
I'm just saying like what it like we've been. I mean, not throwing names out there, but we've been having some weird intermittent internet connection problems. How many people like completely lose their minds and have absolutely no idea how to
I do.
function?
your
have no
job.
idea.
That's
Depends
true.
on it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's different.
We like drop. I mean, when our internet connection drops, it's like, what the hell do we do? I can't connect to the metaverse. I can't.
I can't play my games. I can't talk to people.
So I guess
Yeah. So,
my
again,
main point is to say that the I guess the incubator that makes this entire problem possible is at its roots a philosophical ideology
No.
that allows for these situations to arise, and then it becomes the vicious cycle that you're talking about.
I agree. I just think, what if it was always like, I'm just saying, my whole thing is it wasn't the natural part first.
What if it's
Right.
Satan really behind the pharmaceutical company?
Well, that's at some level that's probably just true.
Probably true.
Well, okay, because so you brought up the good thing. Okay, so men, soft men. We've created soft men.
there's a
'cause
pill
they're
for that.
There's a pill for that.
Oh man.
That's where the hands in the pants were.
Yeah.
No, but for real, like, to go back on that, like, I know, like, we're guys, so this is what we want to talk about.
Did you
is
just assume my gender, Steven?
always will.
Okay.
I always
good.
will.
Good.
I identify
No, but like, we've created men. So who's the people right now that has no purpose?
Men.
It's men.
Yeah, we have the highest suicide rates, highest obesity rates,
And
highest drug
again,
use rates, all that stuff.
We take away. It's because we take away from them,
Yeah.
and we're slowly, and that's why I think it's. To me, that's why I really think it's manufactured. It's not. They could have a purpose. They could, but but they keep.
You're talking
taking
about some sort of establishment that's
everything
changing
keeps
the
trying to
collective
take
cultural purview
everything
of
away
this.
from men.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, anything that a man does is bad. So we're taking away from what a man is. They're trying to do that too.
No, I agree with you. So when you're saying manufactured, you're not
I'm
necessarily
saying
meaning
there's
like
an outside source that is taking. Yeah, it's not necessarily drugs.
yeah, it's
but,
any
like, anything
any
that-
mechanism by which they're
that's
changing
not-
the narrative of our
Yeah,
collective
that's not
culture.
like, oh well, I lost my job and then I took drugs, and that's the cycle. But no, I'm saying like they took your job away and then you
Right.
took the drug. That's my thing. Is I think it's all manufactured. It's all, whether it's
well, and then
school,
and then they
it's-
also propagated the psychotherapy philosophy that we need to medicate people with those issues.
Exactly.
And then gave you the
So
drugs.
that's where
I
I'm
get-
saying.
That's what I'm.
That's
yeah.
where I'm saying.
We
is
agree.
It's yeah. I don't think it was a natural thing. I think it was always.
No, it came from top tier ivory tower people
Yes.
that thought they were smarter than God.
And it wasn't always towards men. I think it was at first it was all people, but then they saw an easier target when they started. I'm gonna go in a weird place,
he's
but when
going
they
down
started giving people birth controls and drugs that altered people's minds, it was easier for them to then manipulate. We're gonna take men away because we need to take the strong and we need to make them weak. Otherwise, we can't control people.
I would
like
be
it.
inclined to agree. That's such a based take. I love it.
For the first time in a long time, Steven is based.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like it. I like based Steven.
Yes.
this is an honest opinion.
So I think one of the reasons, kind of going on, kind of tagging along with what you just said, it's like I feel like the reason why guys like Jordan Peterson are so controversial is because one of the things that he talks about in his books is like, look, you can have purpose, you can have meaning, and I feel like when you have purpose and meaning, when
I can't believe that Nazi would say something like that.
the lobster master,
Red Skull.
lobster skull or whatever his
Did
name
you guys
is.
see the Freedom Tunes about when Captain America goes to beat him up for being a Nazi and then
Wait,
all
he's
of-
Red Skull.
Yeah, he's Red Skull.
Because that's
and
what they did in the comics. They
yeah,
based Red Skull
they
off
based
of
Red
Jordan
Skull off of
Peterson.
Jordan Peterson in one of the comics. So then in the Freedom Tunes, Captain America goes to beat him up for being a Nazi, and then all of the Avengers end up at one of his lectures taking notes. And Hulk goes, Hulk smash! And he goes, no, Hulk, call father and repair relationship. It's so funny.
What is Freedom Tunes?
What?
I
You don't
have
know
no
what
idea.
Freedom Tunes is?
I don't
you
know what.
need-
Oh my god.
They're very short.
Oh, they're
Sorry.
amazing.
They're very
I'm
short
old.
political. No, it's not. You're not old. You just.
You just
he's
don't
our
know.
age.
You haven't seen the light.
Stupid.
It's YouTube.
I know what I'm
Freedom
Googling.
Tunes. Go
I'll
check
show
it
you
out.
guys some
Not
after
all
the
of them are
show.
great, but a lot of them are hilarious.
Like a good portion of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sounds
You
fun.
need
It's
to
like my
Google
only
it.
solace.
Another
in this
thing to
dark,
waste
dark
my
world.
time on YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're really
They're
short.
short,
They're
though,
like
so it's-
3 minutes.
Yeah, but then you watch like 40 of them, and all of a sudden,
All of a sudden, your life's over.
We have to show him the one about
I'll
Gotta
find it
show
on my own.
the
You
Joe
have to show
Biden
me
being
anything.
president
Yeah.
forever.
No,
that's
that
gosh,
doesn't
no,
sound
that's
good.
It's
traumatizing.
hilarious.
So
The one
bring-
about
That was
the,
him or
the
was that-
Nazis,
no, that
or
was,
the World War
Babylon
II
Bee.
fighters being brought back to fight the neo-Nazis.
Yes,
and
that's it,
that's a
yeah.
good one.
But we have no purpose
So
anymore.
bringing it back, I feel like when you give people purpose, it gives them hope,
Mm-hmm.
and when they have hope, they're able to do a lot of things that is very disruptive to the norm, whether that's set by some corporate overlord or government or totalitarian dictatorship.
Right. They feel empowered to actually live a meaningful existence.
empowered
Yeah.
to do things, and
Wow.
I would take it
makes
even
sense.
further is once you take God away.
well, I think that's
Well, duh.
duh.
I mean, we all agree with that, but that is like a hot
Yeah.
take. Ooh.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, it's like one of the things I come to believe over the years was that there is purpose to my suffering, or there's purpose to the hard times I've had to go through. There's purpose to, there's lessons and things and purpose that I can draw from my mistakes. There's purpose to even my line of work. And I feel like as long as we have like an eternal perspective on that, I feel like it just becomes a way to not have to rely so heavily on like drugs and alcohol and social media and getting your value from things that you're confusing with a dopamine high
That aren't real.
Yeah,
exactly.
we've lost the true meaning of what happiness used to mean. So this is something I learned in philosophy class that changed my entire outlook on life. So like when the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence were penned, for instance, they had a view of happiness that we no longer have. So when they wrote life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness,
What does that mean?
So
context.
when we say happiness, we usually think like circumstantial euphoria. Like right now, I feel elated, and that could be
Right.
because
It's
you
like how
ate a
we-
cookie or did drugs or had sex or
Yeah,
won
it's
$1
like
million.
how- It's like how we.
Your battery ended.
Oh, it's okay. I have another one.
It's like how we, when we look at the Bible and we see joy. A lot of people look at joy as
Joy,
happiness. That's
down
like,
in-
oh yeah, I'm always going to be happy because joy, and it's like that's not actually what it means.
What does it mean?
Huh?
What does it mean?
It's-
I will explain once I get the battery in.
What
He'll
about
explain it.
Steven knows?
Does he know?
Does Steven know?
Now that I'm on the spot because I
Well,
brought it up.
You probably know.
Probably want to switch the battery in the other one too.
Let me look at it.
Um,
Probably not.
I think
joy. So we as a society look at joy as happiness, and I'm gonna butcher this because I used to be able to say this better. Joy to me is meant to be rejoice, not joy. Like when we rejoice in all things, it doesn't mean when we're in suffering we go, yay, we're suffering. No, it's like being able to like appreciate the moments we're in, whether it's good or bad. That's to rejoice.
Right.
Is touch my
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't know how. I'm probably far off, but like my
No,
thing is
that's a
So
part of
first
it.
and foremost, define what happiness.
happiness, yeah.
Define what happiness
Right.
was in the context of
yeah.
when the authors of the Constitution wrote it. Like what definition
What
is
did they
that? But then
mean
also,
by
could
that?
you go into like what he's talking about, which is like the biblical definition of the word joy?
They're going to be one and the same in a sense. So what Steven's talking about is right in that true joy and happiness, and I'm going to use those words interchangeably because they should mean the same thing, is independent of your circumstances because it's based in something different than your circumstantial elation, I guess, if you put it that way. So our culture defines it, like we said, as circumstantial euphoria. Like, oh, I won the lottery, or I got a raise, or,
I have a house.
yeah, some sort of dopamine hit is making me happy right now.
Prime.
And those are important, but like you can't live a life with all highs like that. I mean, you literally can't, because your brain sets your new dopamine baseline and it doesn't become as effective. You need to have highs and lows. Like that's a normal part of human existence. The philosophical term happiness in English comes from the philosophical line of thought from Greek philosophy, but also biblical worldview of the Greek word eudaimonia. And so like when Plato and Socrates talked about eudaimonia, happiness, they didn't mean circumstantial elation. They meant being a virtuous and fully alive human being. So happiness was the pursuit of virtue, and all sorts of virtue, whether that's justice and temperance and fortitude, charity, even in terms of like your physicality. Like happiness is being the best human being you're capable of becoming. It's the telos that is ingrained in all of us just by being designed as humans. When you're pursuing that and you're seeking, I guess, the incarnation of what you're supposed to be as a human, that's what happiness is. So like Job in the Bible is happy because in the midst of all those trials and tribulations, he remained faithful. He made a covenant with his eyes against lust. He was grateful for what he did have for the short time he had it. He never succumbed to weakness or temptation. So even though he suffered a shit ton and lost everything, and circumstantially he was sad, technically he was happy because he was a thriving human being. And
the opposite side of that, or the opposite side of the coin of that, would be Solomon, because you look through the whole book of Ecclesiastes, and it's like he had all the wives, he had all the possessions, he had all the business ventures, he had all the great investments, he had all the wisdom in the world, he had everything circumstantial going on for him.
He was a miserable fool at the end.
And everything was meaningless.
Right.
And yeah, so
yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, like, so if you think about, like, in our culture, most people aspire to be like Beyonce, right? They want to be at the top of their game. They want to be famous. They want to have a lot of money. They want to be able to buy as many bottles from bottle service as they want and have nice cars and shit. But, I mean, not to make light of someone's death, but like Avicii, for instance, was not even circumstantially happy because he was severely depressed and ended up taking his own life, which is tragic. But, the life that you lead in our culture, that's the ideal life, is not one that's going to create virtue in you. It's not one that's going to lead you to be a fully alive human being, you know? And so that's a Greek concept, but it's also a biblical concept. Like the early church father, St. Irenaeus, said, the glory of God is a human being fully alive. So like when we're acting as we ought to with the divine image that we bear, when we're in communion with God, we're receiving grace and we're acting like him, we're becoming like Jesus. That is the definition of happiness, because we're becoming the thing we're designed to be.
And it just brings light to the beauty of obedience to his word and his commandments.
Right.
And the freedom that comes along with that is as ironic as it is to say. It's like I have to, and I don't want to use these words, but I'm going to use them anyway. It's like you have to follow these rules in order to experience freedom and joy and have that.
Right. Well, like a piano concert player can't improvise well in a jazz concert unless they've had the discipline and rules of practicing their scales and learning music theory, right? So
true.
It's the limits of our human existence and the boundaries of that existence that are placed on us by God, by the natural order, that we have to abide by in order to be truly free in that sense, you know? The other thing, so Viktor Frankl says this, that he says it this way: we should have the Statue of Liberty on the East Coast, but we should have the Statue of Responsibility on the West Coast. Every freedom comes with a responsibility. You know what I mean?
West Coast.
Yeah.
The most irresponsible.
Well, that's kind of why we need it. But every freedom, by definition, comes with a responsibility that actually makes it not libertarian freedom where you can just do whatever the hell you want, but it makes it to where the privileges and powers we enjoy as a human need to be held in line with the responsibilities they carry.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyways, we were just talking. That's what happiness means. Is like becoming a fully thriving human being. So it would mean being generous and being fit. Really.
This is what sucks about like modern culture, because the Greeks had like 4 different words for love, and the Hebrews had like 13 or something like that. But
And we
then
have one word for love, but multiple.
I love
the way I love
tacos.
tacos is
Tacos,
nowhere near
yeah.
the way I love my wife.
Right.
Yeah, you love tacos
I don't know, man.
way
You haven't
more.
had the right tacos. No, I'm just kidding. Wow, we both. I am
What
kidding.
color is it?
Oh, slam.
Yeah, I mean, maybe our society doesn't have any true meaning because we're not happy anymore.
It's a cheapened down
try to buy our happiness
or discounted version of what I think God initially intended and wanted for us to practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's really kind of pitiful. Like, I've been thinking about this. Like, what kills most people in our country?
Well, right now,
Okay, technically,
Isn't that heart disease?
Nice.
heart disease.
Yeah.
Yeah, heart disease.
Unhealthiness.
Yeah.
you know what's funny?
Most of the time.
Whoa. So
That's my dad.
okay, so you know what's funny about that is so we all treat.
Where's that whistling come from, and where's my gun?
That's my phone.
Okay,
That's
got
my
it.
ringtone.
Scared the hell out of me. I'm like, there's somebody up there.
Oh,
It's a
don't worry.
scary movie now.
Don't worry.
What was I
Our
gonna say?
podcast turned into a
Okay,
horror movie.
so we treat as a society, we treat your heart as this thing that's capable of all of these emotions and all of these. Oh, we're safe. And trust your heart. Trust your.
Well, it's usually right here.
God, I'm having like a nice moment. I'm just gonna. Never mind.
No, but our culture tells us to follow our heart.
Yeah, follow your heart, follow your gut. What's funny is
The heart is deceitfully wicked above all things.
Thank
can
you.
no,
master it.
but it's all fake because guess what it all is? It's up here. It's
Right.
all your mind. Your heart has nothing. There is nothing your heart does besides pump blood and keep you alive. Your gut processes food, keeps you alive. Your brain is your entire function. But we've created this culture of fake emotions that, oh, your heart, oh, your feeling. No, it's all in your brain. It's all chemicals in your brain. This is the most important thing in your, like, that was the one thing.
I think
that's
it's a
why
little deeper than just chemicals in your brain.
Well,
but I
no,
see what
but,
you're saying.
okay, the reason I quit drinking was because it messed with my brain. It made me make poor choices. It made me depressed. It made me, when I was depressed, it made me worse. It made me act out. And it's like, but we all treat society treats it as, oh, your heart's broke. No, your brain's broke.
I think so.
It's an emotion. But I mean, I get what, like, I'm not
I was
trying
gonna
to say
that,
there's no
that actually
emotions.
comes from the biblical tradition because the Hebrew word for heart doesn't necessarily mean this organ.
Well, that's
it
what
means your innermost self.
I know, but
I
we
understand
as
what
a
you're saying.
society have turned everything into
we've
its
bastardized
own
it.
thing instead of it's all your head. It's all connected to there, but we treat like I don't know. I'm just like,
I've created an entire holiday around it too.
we did.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We don't even know how to draw the correct shape.
Yeah, it was based off a butt.
Really?
Yeah, it was
That's
based off a
hilarious.
lady's butt.
That's funny.
Is the heart.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
that's my thing is like, but as a society we create, it's like zodiac signs. We have to create, oh, if it's this month, you're this, and that's
Oh,
your
those are so
personality.
stupid.
I'm,
But that's
I'm
my
an
point.
Aquarius.
Yeah, I'm a Taurus. I'm stubborn.
Wow, look at this vague horoscope that
but
could
that's my-
apply to anybody. I feel so known.
But that's my point is we create these things that aren't really real to associate with things that actually have a definition.
Zodiac signs have about as much value as those BuzzFeed quizzes that tell you like which character from Star Wars you
But
are.
officer,
But I'm always Yoda.
But officer, I'm a Scorpio. Well, I'm a Virgo. Here's your ticket, man.
yeah.
But that's what my thing is. Society keeps creating fake things
Yeah.
to
because
establish.
our
Satan's
Well, that's
the
been happening
devil's
for
been
thousands.
creating fake things.
It's
for
because our life
ever.
is so easy in modern day America. We have to
That's
create
true.
stuff
It's so
in order
easy.
to like.
That was
find
my
a
original
fake
point, is-
purpose.
Most people today in America are dying from heart disease. I'm going to be really insensitive and say, what a really shitty, sad thing to die from. Like in terms of having a meaningful existence, you're dying because you're eating bad foods and you're eating yourself to death.
Yeah.
That is like the least badass way to die. And it's really tragic because like we've talked about, for most people, it's this inculcated society. They've been handed over. They've been told it's healthy. They've been told that, you do you be fat, whatever. But like back in the day, people would die from like war and work tragedies and
defending their family.
their
purpose.
family. And I'm not saying like we all want to die in a plane crash or something like that, like defending the front lines. But the fact that what's killing most of us is comfort is really, really sad,
That's
and
sad.
in a tragic way, it's kind of ironic.
We need a good old-fashioned war. No, I'm just kidding.
See, the thing is anyone fighting in the war, they would all be assholes. Like, there wouldn't be a good
We
guy.
don't have enough
Right.
money anymore for another war.
But yeah,
Like,
no, that's,
which autocrat do you want to win? I don't know. They're about the same.
they all suck. But yeah, no, that's it. I just feel like it's all manufactured. It's all they want you to be soft. They want you to eat your. They want you to. They want you to be.
You want to be a sheep.
They want you to be.
Yes.
They want you to be free.
Animal Farm.
Libertarian.
They want you to be free.
They want us.
Don't tell me what to do.
Free range pork.
Yeah, they don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to do unless it disagrees with you.
Don't tell me what to do unless it goes against the if it goes against the narrative.
Yeah,
of not telling. you
but
what
it's
to do.
both. It's both
But
sides. It's both sides have this horrible. Don't tell me what to do.
They're
crap.
the same.
They're the same.
They're just they act out.
They're
on it
just at different periods of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we have a freedom problem.
We've misdefined freedom and happiness.
Yeah, we've changed the definitions of freedom and happiness.
What we deem as quote unquote freedom isn't real freedom.
because
It's
that God
slavery to a dopamine
it's
addiction.
not.
Really.
It's not freedom that God intended it to
Yeah.
be.
No, it's freedom of what I want to do. And
Selfishness and pride. And,
yeah,
Yeah. We've been going for an hour and 13. Do we have any thoughts on legacy media? I mean, a lot of this stuff kind of corresponds to, like, if we want to go down the real rabbit hole with that. But I think some of that conversation idea was talking about in terms of, like, making content like we are right here on this podcast versus, like, traditional TV stations. Do we
Well,
want to talk about that or save it for another time?
I think. I mean and I keep bringing up Joe Rogan, but like there was a thing I posted on Facebook, and it was a statistic by I think Spotify and somebody else, but they looked at the third quarter of 2021's like average episode viewer for like all these different media outlets, and like Joe Rogan had like 11 million on average per episode he issues out, versus like Tucker Carlson, who came in second place at 3.25 million. And so
But
it's crazy.
that's skewed
How is it skewed?
because that's based off. So that's based
Spotify data
versus.
No,
not. It's not skewed in who's doing it. It's skewed in they're polling the TV broadcast and the
ratings
and
from TV.
from TV and from his podcast.
From podcasts,
Because what they're
downloads.
missing, and this is what they're missing is on YouTube. The views for CNN, Fox, and MSNBC, and all them are actually extremely high. So
Well, how
they're-
do I know that's true? Because if I'm scrolling through Facebook and a video automatically
Well,
starts
see,
playing,
that's-
that's counted as a view, even though I
true.
just keep
Yes,
scrolling. So even
but-
that could be skewed.
Yes, but well, if you want to go into there,
You can just say I'm right and just stop talking.
CNN buying all the airport TVs.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
but so there was somebody, I think it was Tim Pool was talking about this, where they were looking at the average views for, it was Tucker Carlson, not Chris Cuomo anymore, Don Lemon, and like all them, and they're in the 3,000 to 100,000s, and they've gone way down. But then when you go actually look, and the reason I say theirs are up, and why it's not just someone scrolling through, is because YouTube promotes CNN,
That's
Fox, all mainstream
That's
media.
true.
So
they push the mainstream sources.
Push it.
That's new, though.
That's new, but their viewership is high there because people usually just go to the recommended page.
Yeah.
And so the people like Tim Pool and Steven Crowder and all of them get pushed to the side. Their viewers are still high. They do really good
Until they take certain episodes down.
until they take certain episodes down.
So I
but but my point is, they're high compared to, I think what's dying is cable.
100%.
Cable's definitely.
Well, and
But
even
they're still thriving, sadly, on YouTube because
It's a tech monopoly.
it's a tech
pushing
monopoly that's
narrative.
pushing it.
Yeah.
right before that decision was made, though, it wasn't a contest. I mean, and because realistically, those people that are clicking on those YouTube videos, they're not getting the full show unless they go to like the Fox
Well, and that's what it's
subscription or
not
whatever,
full
right?
shows. It's clips. The
Right.
clips are.
That's
what,
why the whole Rogan Tim Pool phenomenon is more impressive, though, because these are people that are starting with no resources, just like us. They're just starting like in a basement with a couple microphones and some cameras, and then it just builds organically. And if you're getting millions of views per episode and you built it entirely organically and independent, that says a lot about what people are actually engaging with. Plus the fact that like a Tucker Carlson monologue is like 14 minutes. His show is like 30 minutes. Joe Rogan episodes are 4 hours.
Right.
Well, yeah. Well.
So I think that's the way it's going. People want independent creators, and it's been that way for a while. But there's this last push to kind of save establishment media, and I mean entertainment and news.
But,
and all
Yeah,
of it.
people want. I know everyone loves the long form, but they can break it down. They don't have to listen to it. People want short stuff. Their attention span, so they can pause. Where cable, you can pause and come back, but like that was meant for you to take time out of your day and sit down at the couch. Where now it's I can get a short 3-minute clip. I can, or I
do
can
it while you're driving.
While I'm driving,
yeah.
I can listen to Joe Rogan. I can pause. I don't have to finish it now. It's the whole media aspect has changed. In that sense, because I feel like a lot of
with
people
things like live streaming like this, like if we actually had an audience, we could be interacting with them right now.
Yeah,
and that's
well,
crazy.
And what people viewership at the moment might be low, but it's the repeat or the people coming to watch later. That's where it could skyrocket. And for a lot of people, I think that's where it is. It's not necessarily their live show gets all their views. It's the repeat, the sending it out to people, the ability to send it to someone,
But
to show them, hey, watch this.
the fact that like Joe Rogan's show is 3-4 hours long, and the fact that he maintains the level of viewership to each episode.
People definitely want to ingest long form content.
Well, they do. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just
all I'm saying is that I think, with all things being considered, I feel like there's. And I guess this kind of goes back to what we were talking earlier. People want authenticity. Joe Rogan has established himself as a brand that is genuinely looking for objective authenticity. What is the truth? It doesn't matter. He'll have Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder on the show. He'll have like Andrew Yang and Bernie
Sanders.
Bernie Sanders. He endorsed Bernie Sanders just because he felt like just sitting there and talking to him outside the context of what you see on the mainstream media. He felt that, you know what, Bernie's a really authentic guy. He believes what he believes in.
so was Hitler.
Oh my god,
Just saying, just because he's authentic doesn't mean he's good.
that's true.
But again, but the point I'm trying to make is that like he's not married to one idea. He's genuinely trying to like ask questions. He asks good
I feel like
questions
that's how
too.
it all started for everybody. To me, that's the scary part. Is I think everybody went in there with that intention.
So you think at some point Joe Rogan and Tim Pool will get so big that they
I think there's always the chance. I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying there's always the chance that they do.
That they would do what?
They turn. I mean, to what legacy media is.
I'll be honest. I think Tim Pool would be more
it's-
inclined to do it than Joe Rogan would.
I agree.
I mean,
I
think
like him.
there's-
I like him. I
Yeah.
think he. I don't know. I just feel like he would be someone.
You
Joe
know what?
Rogan's too out there.
Yeah, Tim Pool
He's
doesn't
like
let
Alex
other
Jones,
people
but
talk
Alex
enough.
Jones is out there, but he's become his own legacy media version of himself.
The dark web's legacy media.
Like I think
Gay
it's
frogs.
always possible for like the path to hell is led with good intentions. It's always possible for these people to become the next what happens when legacy media does fade? Who is the next legacy media?
Well, isn't there beauty of a decentralized media outlet platforms
Would
like
be super dope.
that's what that's what I'm saying. Like so let me put it to you this way. You have Fox News that says one thing. You have CNN, MSNBC, and all those guys say another thing. Those are two centralized, controlled media company outlets that are spit in a particular narrative. Whereas you have a bunch of content creators, the Tim Pools, the Joe Rogans,
as long as you're allowed to still be there like that.
Well, but I'm just saying, if you have like the Megyn Kellys, the Ben Shapiros, the Michael Knowles, the Bill Maher's, the whoever the other, like the left side of the podcast media platform is out there. But I'm just saying, like, when you have a bunch of influential content creators that are saying the same thing, or they find some kind of common ground on something, I feel like that's way more powerful from a decentralized, like, all these guys are trying to do is compete for market share. And if they can figure out a way how to feed off of each other's like synergy, but then in a decentralized way, come to the table, talk about a particular issue, and not be coaxed by a corporate overlord or a politician or special interest groups that push particular narratives through a channel because they're a person's, like Tucker Carlson's livelihood is based on it. Where
this was the beauty of the intellectual dark web. Are you guys familiar with that term and who? So
I know dark web, but I don't know intellectual dark web.
It wasn't the actual dark web, but the intellectual dark web was this phenomenon that started happening in like 2015 when people realized that the shift in our culture in the establishment sense, whether we're talking about entertainment media or news media, was moving to, I guess you could say, censorship, in the sense that there were certain opinions that weren't allowed at the table. Whereas classically in America, it was let everyone talk and then just the idiots will reveal themselves, right? You know, so a lot of people realized this shift was happening and started to be like, well, now wait a minute, we have to have conversations with people we wildly disagree with. And so the intellectual dark web was started with people like Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Joe Rogan, Dave Rubin, Eric Weinstein, and even Sam Harris for a while was a part of this. And these guys, I mean, Ben Shapiro and Sam Harris agree on about nothing. Sam Harris is politically left. He's an atheist. I think he's like a biologist or something like that. And then Ben Shapiro is a politically right political commentator who's an Orthodox Jew. So like as far apart as you can get, basically. But they would have engaging discussions and find common ground. The whole point was they were discussing with people that they knew disagreed, sometimes mildly, sometimes really, really seriously. And it was kind of in opposition to what's happening in more, I guess you could call, legacy media, where they won't allow that to happen.
Well, it's like either CNN and Fox and whoever won't bring on somebody because they know their argument or view on something will get absolutely demolished, or they purposely bring on somebody to try to trick them into
they bring a straw man who like sucks at arguing their point.
Well, but then it's like they'll bring in somebody and they try to rile them up, and then it becomes this explosive outrage, and then it just becomes a soundbite on like YouTube. Well,
this is even true of like, I mean, we're talking media right now, all about like news and information. This is even true of entertainment though, too, in a lot of ways. You know, like there's in the bureaucratic structure of Hollywood, there's not really creative freedom. Like your film can't say certain things, it can't become certain things, it can't even imply certain viewpoints. You know, it won't get funding, and if it doesn't get funding, then you don't have a film, and if you don't have a film, then you're broke. You know, so I think that's the freedom, at least in the film space, of like indie film. You can make whatever you want, and if you can find someone to fund it in a non-traditional means, you can make it, and then it's up to merit, right? If you can make it as an independent filmmaker and you make a badass indie film and everyone loves it, that's because the film was awesome and it resonated with people.
It takes it back to meritocracy and the virtues and the values of meritocracy, and the benefits that meritocracies can bring.
Right. And I mean, even in terms of, at least in terms of film, like even just the merit of the art, right? Because right now in this space, we have a similar problem that we have in like the legacy news media space. The quality is down because they know that we have to go there. To some degree, like when you want to see a movie, you have to go to a movie theater and see the movies that they put there, and they put movies. Yeah, they're awful, and they put them there not because they're trying to make amazing cinematic masterpieces. They put them there because they know that, okay, we did the math. This one will make a profit. So like they often know this is going to be a shitty movie, but if we market it correctly, the box office opening weekend will be good enough. We'll make a profit, and that's it. That's fine. And I'm not saying I'm not saying that's like evil or wrong to make a profit off of a movie, but when the primary motive becomes what will make us the most money, and then when that is paired with these are the things we can and can't do, then you're inhibiting something beautiful and challenging from happening.
So it's like basically the latest Star Wars saga. It's like they know they can push whatever narrative and make their money off of doing something really stupid.
Well, yeah, because the
Yeah.
movie can be shit. but
Looking
if
at you, Ryan Johnson.
If you market it well, and then if the critics agree with it, and that's where the message is really important, is so that the critics agree with it, and it gets good reviews in the newspaper, people will buy a $10 ticket, $20 ticket to go see it once. They might never watch it again.
But then people are catching up to the whole like authenticity aspect of like Rotten Tomatoes, because I don't go off of the tomato.
You always go off the audience score.
You always go off the audience score.
It's almost always opposite. It's amazing.
And then when your friends are telling you that the latest Spider-Man movie is like super dope, and then that's very anecdotal, but then you look at the actual reviews on Rotten Tomatoes for the audience score, and it's like, oh, okay, this must be actually good. I don't go to the movies a lot just because like Hollywood is just, being Hollywood.
Yep.
There's like a handful of movies.
Too.
Well, but then like there's been a handful of movies over my life that are like, I'm really happy I spent good money to go see that movie.
Totally.
Yeah.
I live in a city where I'll just wait because I have a better system to watch
What?
it.
If it's in the penthouse, it's awesome though.
I don't like it.
You don't like the penthouse?
No, Penthouse sucks. The audio sucks.
What?
The screen sucks.
I miss
Yeah,
Harkins.
but it's cool.
I miss Harkins.
Harkins is objectively the
Which
best
one's
movie
Harkins?
theater. It's in Arizona, and they have other locations in like California and
okay.
stuff.
They're
Yeah,
big
yeah.
city.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
They're
Them in
kind of like
Denver.
Arizona like brand
There's one in Denver
AMC.
for sure.
Okay.
But they're locally owned, so it's not this like Harkins.
I know what Harkins is.
Harkins is like the Chick-fil-A of movie theaters.
What?
In terms of like you go there and you're like getting popcorn, and instead of some like pimpled teenager being like, "What do you want?" and like hating you, you go to Harkins and like, "Hello, sir. Have you heard the good news of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?" Like they're almost all Mormon. It feels like, you know what I mean? They're all really nice. The whole facility is clean. Everything's
Yep.
beautiful inside. It's amazing.
Yeah, been to one. I don't know.
Have you been to
Movie
the one at
theaters are
Scottsdale
movie
Fashion
theaters.
Square? The new one?
No, I don't know.
The one that's like friggin' amazing.
No, we went
Friggin' amazing.
the really huge one all the way the hell out west in Litchfield.
Oh yeah.
We went.
It's awesome.
We went to go see Kong
Oh yep.
with the one with the guy that plays Loki.
Yeah.
Most Harkins have bars in them now too, so you can drink
yeah,
while you
that's
watch
always
movies. That's
Well,
my
so
favorite.
no, but then we started seeing the emergence of like the dine-in theater where it's like you go sit,
yeah.
you can order food and
Oh, yeah,
like
those are
get a
cool.
beer and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I worked out
Where
on that. That's
the,
what it
the
was.
popcorn. And
there was
the-
a girl I knew that
the soda's free.
There was a girl I knew that worked at one of those.
Those ones are awesome.
Pretty
You
dope.
can unlimited popcorn.
Yeah, and just like totally pig out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Those are pretty sweet.
it's great. Harkins, I loved it, and they had they
Yeah,
did this
we don't
thing.
have that here.
I'm just an ad. They're sponsoring the show, so they had they had a loyalty cup, and every year it was themed about the movies coming out that year, and you could buy the loyalty cup for like $5, and then refills were 50 cents
Nice.
every time you brought it. It's amazing.
Oh yeah,
it's
my,
such a good
my
idea.
mom when we lived there, my mom would get us loyalty cups every
Oh
year
yeah,
for
you
Christmas.
said like the
Is
collection.
Spider-Man in the penthouse?
I don't know. We should look.
next week.
I kind of want to see it.
I want to go see it real bad. Richard went without us.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
What an
he called me, and I was like, well, I was in Fort Collins. I was like,
I was
I'm
at
in Fort
dinner with my
Collins. I was
parents.
like, can we go another time? He's like, well, I'm gonna go anyway. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Fine.
Whatever.
Fine, Richard.
Richard, if you're listening to this, we're mad at you for not
We're
inviting
mad.
us the
Bro.
time we could go.
We wanted to
Bro.
see Spider-Man.
So
Spider.
getting back to the legacy thing, I think. Okay, now it's a little different because a lot of the shows you watch are like opinion shows, but originally it was supposed to be like this newscast.
Update: Spider-Man
But
is
now-
in the penthouse. Yes.
Ah, okay. But now people have
go night.
lost trust of the media for good reasons.
Close down.
But I
and
think
go.
it's hard to compare like the Joe Rogan show to nightly news with David Muir because it's completely different. Because Joe
Different
Rogan's
format.
doing
It's different format
interview,
now.
and David Muir's doing like minute-long news stories that are really crappy news stories, but they're news stories.
But like at the same time, like the problem with when I was a broker, like we always told clients, it's just like don't watch CNBC, don't watch the news. All they're doing is selling you advertising to begin with.
Well, but my point was going back to the thing about Steven saying we want the short segments, but yet Joe Rogan has like great ratings. He does like 3-4 hours. It's because it's a different thing. Like he brings on really interesting people. And
He asks
really,
good questions.
Again,
thoughtful
his thing
interviews
is
and
you
discussions.
don't have to watch it then.
Well, yeah,
That's
it's true
important.
too.
That is a huge thing.
Right.
It's a thing that. So,
But
you also have to
still.
add in. Okay, I'm at work. I can put headphones in. I can listen to Joe Rogan for 4 hours.
But it's not just Joe Rogan and Tim Pool.
Well, no, there's a lot.
Even text media, this is happening. Like, in terms of the people who are, like, going and reading the New York Times versus people who are starting to read things on Substack.
Oh,
like
sure.
Matt Taibbi Has anyone followed Matt Taibbi?
No.
He used to write for the Rolling Stone and a couple other newspapers, and he still will submit articles as a freelance writer for them now. And he's a well-established, well-received journalist, and he used to be. Now they're starting to hate him because he writes on Substack. He makes a shit ton more money being independent. He gets to say what he wants.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, so people are just going directly.
So you're
to
saying
him.
he's getting canceled?
A little bit. Well, they did write a hit piece about him where they said he's writing on Substack, which is known for its transphobia and this and that. It's
Far
like,
right.
Right, and he's like
capital insurrection.
yeah.
BS.
And Matt Taibbi leans hard left. Like not he's like a JFK Democrat, right? He's like classic leftist.
classical liberal.
Yeah,
but he as far as I can pick up, he was on Joe Rogan talking about this. They wrote a hit piece about him saying smearing Substack, but he's like they were trying to make Substack seem like it was the New York Times and it has a bend and an agenda and a like a tone to it. But Substack is just, it's like Reddit. It's like everyone gets their own page that they run. It's like a blog, right? But you write news on it and people pay for it. And that's starting to take off. And it's the same format as something like the New York Times, but it's independent, meaning that there's not an overarching company and an editor, more importantly, that tells you what you can and can't publish.
It goes back to the meritocracy piece where instead of it being centralized by big, massive media outlet corporations, it's being dismantled by people that have the freedom to say what they want and get paid for it.
Right.
Where they don't have to be submissive to a corporate overlord.
It's really easy too. Like the barrier to entry, like you might not be successful overnight, but like this camera right here that I'm filming with that microphone on top, and that I have a wireless mic that you could put like on a little interview stick. We could put that together for like $1,500, and we could start going and doing like guerrilla journalism about Montrose overnight, and it's there.
It'd be pretty boring though.
Yeah, it'd be pretty boring, but we could talk about whatever we wanted. We could interview whoever we wanted.
We should do our own like Babylon Bee version of like Montrose.
Oh man, that's a good idea. What would
We
the
should
name
do the
be?
one like just go up to random people and ask them questions. You know, kind of like what Jay Leno just.
It could be called Beneath the Water Tower.
The giant penis.
Giant
water tower.
penis water.
God.
The Jeff Bezos water tower.
Beneath the water tower.
So it's like, okay, I get, so Joe Rogan, so we have all these people. So what happens when they're gone?
You have new independent media
but
sources
see,
like ideas.
Here's this thing that I think we're ignoring. There's a bunch of people that don't want legacy media to fade. Because
They're gonna die too, though. I mean,
So are you saying someone's going to get suicided or?
someone's going to get suicided. No, what I'm saying is like, I know they're going to, eventually people die. But there's young people that do not want legacy media. They want to be the next in line in control. And so what happens when someone comes in with a big paycheck or a big check? You know,
But if
like,
no one's watching, where's the money going to come
well,
from?
no,
at some point?
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is what happens when someone comes with a big paycheck and says, "Hey, I love what you're doing." You know, right now Spotify, they offered him a lot of money and he has his free. But what happens when contract's up and they want to renew, but they change some things?
Then they
I
move,
think he'll leave, but not
yeah,
everyone's
but
then
like
he
him.
moves, then he moves to Rumble.
Yeah, but Rumble is gonna have its own problems.
Yeah, it's already starting.
yeah, I don't know.
And so that's my, you know, they shut down what's it called? A parlor.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Now it's Getter.
Now it's Getter, which
But I'm
I'm
just saying,
kind of like, when are they going to go down?
we don't give bad people enough credit. They had us
Yeah.
under their control for so long, and now it's starting to slip. They're gonna find a way to get it back.
right.
That's just the way the world works. I think right now we're in a good spot. But eventually, I think
Something's got to blow.
something's got to blow. Because, okay, so Daily Wire. I like the Daily
I
Wire.
don't think we're in a good spot.
Well, no, for like being able to listen to. We don't have to listen
Right.
to
Oh,
there's
the
to
media.
choose.
Yeah,
Right,
to
okay.
choose. We
Sorry,
have
yeah.
Sorry, yeah. No, we're in a good spot where we don't have to just listen to Fox and MS
Right.
and all them. But like Daily Wire, I like them. But what is the Daily Wire doing? It's doing the opposite. It's
Who's the guy that is not? It's not Ben Shapiro. It's the other guy that does the roundtable thing.
Jeremy Boring?
Yeah,
The
Jeremy Boring.
The guy that owns it or whatever?
So
yeah.
Jeremy Boring said that the philosophy of the Daily Wire was, okay, instead of like submitting ourselves to the Hollywood overlords, we're going to create our own economic ecosystem and create our own content that
That's
people are coming
exactly.
people are coming over to what's the word I'm looking for, to consume. And eventually, and the idea is that hopefully at one point the Daily Wire will get so big that it takes a lot of market share away from like Disney, where it gets to the point where, okay, if Disney,
that'd be so great.
if Disney wants to gain that market share back, they're going to have to start doing things, aka make good freaking movies with no forced political agenda behind it. Or then at least at some point come to the table and have a discussion about how content should be created and how it should be distributed amongst the masses and stuff like that.
That would be great.
Yes.
I don't see that happening.
It is slowly happening though. They're growing really fast.
Not
without resistance though.
Well, no, my thing is like, okay, so Daily Wire becomes a Disney.
Then they all just become big
on the other side of the coin.
Of the coin. Like that's my thing is I feel like instead of, and I get what they're trying to do because you do want to bring everybody, you want to make the market more favorable to everybody instead of just spewing out crap, which Hollywood does. So yes, you want that competition. That's great. But eventually it's just going to be the same game that's happening between Disney and Paramount. And you just added another person into it,
right,
to hopefully change quality.
Yeah,
but what happens?
So
I see a cycle.
Yeah.
Well, so when I feel like when the market gets so oversaturated with content, I think there's a chance to where eventually when there's the old saying, when the tide everyone's doing well when the tide rises, but when it falls we find out who's actually wearing swim trunks. And so when everyone's doing their own podcast, their own content creation and stuff like that, we'll figure out, if something happens within the culture where, okay, I'm not going to listen to this anymore, we're going to start seeing a lot of people fade out. And then whoever has legit stuff and who has merit and that has the, I don't know, the grit or something. I feel like there's a lot of people coming out with a lot of stuff right now and there's so much information, but eventually because there's only so much market share, a lot of them are going to die out because they can't generate enough market share to make it profitable or to sustain their hobby or whatever.
See, that's where the problem's going to be.
Where you're thinking like the big boys, like the Daily Wire, Disney,
the ones that survive
are the big boys.
They're going
the
to turn
big
into
boys.
They're
going to be in control.
Corporations at some point.
This is like a larger problem in America. It's not just about media.
No,
it's every type of business.
No,
you
it's
can
every
enter,
business.
Yeah.
It's
every
it's
business.
To me like we live in a world this has never been a problem, and then all of a sudden now we have too much information. We have too much, and it's like you said, there's one company that controls everything. There's six. Well, like you said, now we're gonna get to the point where there's too much. People are gonna die. Like companies are gonna die. The big guys are gonna reign, but then the big guys are going to reign. And
rise of the corporate state.
And I feel like that's where it's like I feel
already
like we're in
there.
an endless cycle.
They already influence our legislation like more than any other power.
That's my point.
Now you know why I think lobbying should be illegal.
But
yeah,
that's my point. Is what if, okay, we're looking at it this going this way. They're gonna try to go this way. To me, like neither is good.
Right.
They're like I understand the purpose of trying to get it to what it is, but all we're doing is going from this side to this side. And if we want to go politics, what is politics? It's the same thing, just everybody's behind.
Yeah, slow mode versus fast mode.
All we're doing is maybe this one dies, but this one's going to replace it, and then there's going to be something that comes behind.
I think
and it's endless cycle because the problem is not actually being fixed.
Yeah.
I don't know what it fully is, but we're not fixing an actual problem. We're just going to create another problem eventually.
I think this is my same solution to all of our ailments. If we economically, culturally, and politically incentivized localism, that would solve it, because you would still have a few big players in small ponds, and there'd be a bunch of small ponds, and there'd be regional needs connecting them. Like, you need that overarching authority, and you need that interconnectedness on some level. But like, imagine a world in which, it's kind of a shitty world right now, but if it was the world, it would get better. Imagine a world in which our main source of entertainment and culture and media was local, whether it's our local paper or if we had a news station or if we had like local entertainment companies, you know. I guess the closest thing we have is like our local theater, like the Magic Circle players, you know. That used to be
We're
how
a
it was
small
by a
town.
matter of necessity because there was no telephone and TV. But I think that there's a technological possibility for that in the future in which, because of things like cameras getting cheaper and more accessible and editing software getting easier, it makes the barrier to entry a lot smaller for anybody to start creating. And it could lend itself towards a future. It's theoretically possible. How you get there, I don't know. Where you have almost like a localist or more, I don't want to say tribal because that sounds like they're against each other, but like a more smaller sample size of what you're listening to and where it's coming from, and hopefully it would be centered around where you live, you know.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Well, if you didn't have to, so I guess like where Daily Wire's nice is okay. They have their own movie company. They don't have to go through Hollywood. Like Hollywood,
the dream, isn't it?
Hollywood union or Hollywood monopolized movies, pretty much,
And made them really
It
shitty.
made them real shitty. So it's like if you could span it to anybody can do it, and here's a
Make
chance.
movies great again.
And that's what's cool about the internet. Anybody
Right.
can have a chance. It's just, for me, for some reason, this is just cynical of me, but I just see an endless cycle because it's not fixing the true problems.
Yeah.
And it comes to drugs, and like to go back to all that. It's like we're doing is feeding information to people, and we're sitting at home, like we're numbing people. You could even say YouTube and social media and listening
Totally.
to stuff is a drug.
Yeah.
It's definitely a dopamine
Us.
hit.
It's
Listening to us.
It's addictive in the same way.
Yeah, why would you
drugs-
listen to
Yeah,
us?
don't listen to us.
Turn this off
Yeah,
and go
I'm just saying,
do
but like
something with
when
your
you
life.
listen to, when you have 1,000 options, what do you don't
Although
have to,
we have one viewer, and I think it's Jamie, so thank you, Jamie, for watching us.
but my point is like
It's the mom or
I can
Jamie
listen
or
to
David.
endless amounts of
Yeah.
I can listen to endless amounts of information and not do anything all day
I know, right?
Right.
I can't be.
And not be better off for it.
and not be better
Yeah.
off for
And
it.
it
Not
doesn't
at
even
all.
necessarily change your behavior.
No. And that's where
Ugh.
I feel like the conversations we have, I think, are better, is because it's like we're trying to look at it from a thing, but we're also like this way, but we're also trying to figure out how to make what we talk about better for people. We don't want to just regurgitate
Like
politics and what everyone
like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I don't want to like I do want to talk about the downsides of too much entertainment, the downsides of too much drugs, too much freedom, changing the definitions of words, and like actually, you know, helping people have purpose.
Yeah, so it should all
get out
come
there.
with positive action and
Yeah.
implementation
Like, get
in
out
our
there and
lives
do
and other
something.
people's lives. Yeah. That's,
You can listen to us, and that's great, but like at the same time, go out.
the good thing is that no one is listening.
I know. That's what's great. This would be the moment, you know?
Yeah.
Like you can listen, and it's like video games, it's everything. There's moderation, but like right now we have too much. We have too much of everything. It's too much food, too much I bet you there's a bunch of people dying from watching TV because it's sitting on the couch, which leads
is the
to
new smoking.
which leads
they
to
say.
smoking, or not leads to
sugar.
smoking, eating
Eating
shitty
crap.
food.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you die.
it's all the same. It all goes to the same. So it's like
It's so hard though,
Figuring out a
man.
balance.
I'm gonna let myself have one cheat day meal on Saturday. I've been thinking about it like every day. I can't pick. It's like, do I pick pizza? Do I want like like a Philly cheesesteak sandwich or like a burrito from Sunrise
nobody-
Burritos? I don't know, man.
people in the 50s, they didn't have this problem because they didn't have all these choices. They just made their food.
Yeah.
But now we have all these choices. We have all these options. We don't have to cook. It's convenient.
Inconvenient. Yeah.
And it's actually kind of stupid too. Like so, like Gina and I have
Now
kind
they
of
make
been
it to where they deliver it to
yeah
your
we've
front
been
door.
we've been making a lot of our own stuff like from scratch. So like I made a kale salad with like this lemon oil dressing today. I made the dressing. It took me 12 minutes. Woo! And it was way cheaper. And I have a shit ton of it, so I can just put it on a salad. You can make your own salad dressing. You can make your own bread. The beer bread that Daniel made for me, like what was that, a couple months ago?
When after
Was-
you guys had
Oh yeah, so it was like 3 months ago when we had Gwen. Hella good, way better than what I would have bought in the stores. We've forgotten in our culture that you can make probably a better pizza than definitely a better pizza than Domino's can make. I think that the convenience has actually just made us a bunch of really really passive idiots
Lazy.
who aren't lazy.
Super lazy.
We don't want to do that stuff for ourselves, but there's something fulfilling about like when we make our homemade pizza. It's really good. First off, it's probably better for us because it's not jacked full of high fructose corn syrup. But then there's like a fulfillment in the work of having made something worthwhile. Whereas like when you have Grubhub deliver pizza, you just go and eat it, and it's like, okay, cool. There's the gratification is actually less, I think. So
Probably.
Anyways, it's
Past
hour 45.
Past our bedtime.
Past our bedtime.
It is. Yeah.
Any final thoughts? What's the final verdict? I'll give everyone a couple seconds. Come up with your final verdict, and we'll go around the table.
Yay, drugs.
Final verdict
Boo,
on
drugs.
Yeah, final verdict starting with Daniel.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good things that drugs can do, but we just need to do more research and figure out what the best way to implement those drugs. And I really liked how you defined happiness and joy. Definitely changes the way I think about things. And it makes me realize, it's not about materialistic possessions. It's not about the career. It's not about the wife, the 2 kids, and a dog. It's about bettering yourself and realizing that you were made in God's image and you're meant to live out God's ideal of what a man should look like or act out, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Your turn.
Steven. Bottom line.
Get out of your house and go do something.
That's a good one. You mean my house or no?
Get out of your house,
Yeah.
Drew.
Oh,
Have purpose,
shoot.
like whatever it is. Like get out of your house. Don't watch
Not whatever it is.
Yeah. Hopefully it's
No,
better.
you know.
But
what
I know what you mean. Find something worth living
Live
for.
for.
Maybe better. Find something worth dying for.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I was thinking today. How did I say it? I'd rather if I'm not trying. Shit, come back to me. Damn
All right. Final verdict, Andrew.
Our lives have become way too easy, way too convenient, way too. We're just way too lazy now because of all that, and we need to get back to making things. We need to get back to being more healthy, just overall. We need to. I don't know. Yeah, something like that.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much just what you said. It's like I was driving my car today, and I'm like, find something not to live for, find something to die for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm okay with dying if it's for the right things.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've become a society where we want to live and we want a life, and it's like
YOLO.
we want to do all these things, and we want to live long, prosperous lives. And I'm like, no, I want to find something to die that's worth dying for.
Mm-hmm.
Find a purpose. Like God is worth dying for. My family is worth dying for. It's like find something. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's like find that purpose that I'm willing to die for this and make it good.
Mm-hmm.
You won't die for everything.
And be strong enough to continue in that path even when everything else rails against it. Yeah. I think that's kind of my final verdict too. I think we live in a society that values novelty of experience over magnanimity of character, and that is the death of all things good. It's the death of primarily my favorite talking point, the family, which is the foundational unit of society, not the individual, but the family. Because what are you without your family? You don't exist. So I think all of these things we talked about, all of these excesses of the prevailing, I don't even want to say ideology, but the competing ideologies that are coming from the same seed in our world have done that. They've made it to where we want novelty of experience. We want, what did I say earlier? We want the euphoric moment in terms of like dopamine hits and drugs and money and cars and stuff, as opposed to the reward of good character and virtue and living a life well lived in spite of your circumstances that you can't control. Mm-hmm. I think I talked earlier about like dying because of something that was is avoidable as bad food choices. Dying from eating yourself to death ultimately is kind of a pitiful thing compared to dying in suffering, knowing you lived a life to the fullest potential you could have, knowing that you were an upright person, a righteous person, and that you were trying to be a healthy person, that you did hard things, that you did good things, and that your circumstantial euphoria didn't stop you from being a full human, a decent human, you know, and ultimately having a death that's meaningful, you know. Yeah, so anyways, I guess that's the end of it too, is memento mori, remember you will die. I don't really want to die being like, well, I guess I watched a lot of movies, did some drugs, and ate as many Cheetos as I want. I want to die being like, I did everything I could to take care of my family, to leave my community a better place, to make the next generation powerful and strong and virtuous. And I took care of people. I was generous. I was adventurous, and took risks. Taking risks. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, no regrets.
No regrets.
Guy Diaz.
Out.